Hey, this is Dave from Race Coordinator. I'm coming to you with one last video. Today's topic will be wireless connections, and that is a wireless connection between the track and the laptop or PC running Race Coordinator, and as well as a wireless connection between the track itself and your controller. I think these are two really cool technologies. They're liberating in a way. They allow you to do things that you couldn't do otherwise with all the wires going to those things. So before I get started, again, I want to do a disclaimer. The wireless track interface you're going to see is an alpha version that Paul from Viasue and myself are working on. Paul from Viasue and myself are working on. I am partnered with Paul. He provided me with this great 3-lane setup. It is a fully blown system. It's got per lane relays, per lane call buttons for crash and learn. It's got an LED start tree, heat leader lights. It's got 9 track sensors. That's 3 per lane. The start finish line, a pit end sensor, so you can pit between the start finish line and the pit end sensor, and then a segment timer for each lane. So it's really hooked up. I mean, I don't think you could have a bigger I don't think you could have a bigger lane setup than what I've got, or track setup than what I've got now, unless you just added more lanes. And I believe it's top notch thanks to Paul from Viasue and my software, of course. I'm also the author of the Scorpius Race Management System, SRMS. That is the management system used by the Scorpius Wireless system. So I am also partnered with Scorpius Wireless. Scorpius Wireless, for those of you who don't know, provide wireless digital racing hardware, and I provide the software for that system. Together, I think we provide an amazingly fun digital experience that is completely wireless, and it's unbelievable. If you haven't seen it, you should really check it out. It's pretty awesome, the things you can do with the digital systems. And so with their technology, I'm using one of their wireless controllers and a device called a WAM, W-A-M, to run analog cars with the digital controller. And at the end of this, I'll talk about a little bit of what we can do with that and bring some of the digital experience to the analog track. So I just wanted to point out before I begin that I am partnered with these two companies or products or whatever you want to call them. But that said, just like how any donations I receive for Race Coordinator itself go directly to charity, 100% go directly to charity. Any money I receive from the Viasue track interface through sales from that or through sales from the SRMS software, 100% of that money that I receive goes again to charity, to the same worthy charity. So my incentive is not monetary. It is simply to provide the best racing experience for the slot car community I can, and in doing so, hopefully raise a little bit of money for charity. So, but again, I am partnered with them, so take that for what it's worth. You know, I think this stuff is awesome, and it's not because I'm partnered with them that I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome because, frankly, it is awesome. And I wouldn't be partnered with these two guys if I didn't think together we provided one of the best, if not the best, slot car experiences for both the analog and digital world. So that said and that done, let's get to it. I'm going to start this race. If you heard it, I started it over here so you could hear the track relay clicking on, hopefully. I started it on the laptop because I'm actually on the opposite side of my table. Hello, I'm right in front of the camera. From where my track sensors are and where my driver stations are. So I don't actually have access to my call buttons at the moment because I'm in full-on wireless mode and I'm able to walk around the track and do things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the wireless controller. You can see it here. It's in my hand. You see no wires, nothing up my sleeve. Don't know what else to do other than to show it to you. I'm going to pull the trigger and you're going to hear the car go. There it goes. I can't show you the car and video at the same time, plus my track is pretty horrible, so I'm going to have to be there to fix it as the car comes off and gets stuck. But I assure you, I am driving with this controller, and I'm triggering laps with it. There's one. We're going to come around, and we're just going to run a few laps. So the awesomeness with this is that a couple of things. Because it's a Bluetooth interface from the track to the PC, you are able to put your track computer anywhere you want. Mine is on the floor in front of this TV. And an HDMI cable from the track computer to the TV, allowing me to display what you're seeing right now, which is a 42-inch TV displaying my race system. If I did not have this Bluetooth connection, I probably wouldn't be able to connect to this TV because my laptop wouldn't be able to get close enough to it and still be connected to the track, at least not without running some wires either up the ceiling or on the floor where people can step on them and things. So it should make for a much more robust and much more flexible system having the Bluetooth interface there. And you can see we're just counting laps just like any other race. I'm driving real slow and I apologize, but my track rails are coming up. The track's in shambles, frankly. I'm going to destroy this track after this video. So that's all the demo really has to show is that you can register laps wirelessly through the interface. So here's a cool thing. I hit a dead spot on my track because, again, my track is terrible. I'm pulling the controller and it's not going. Rather than having to stop the race or anything like that, I can just walk around the track and I'm going to go give the car a push and continue racing because I'm still plugged in and I'm still rolling. If that were a wired controller, odds are I would have had to put the controller down and then come back. And now I'm off the track over here because I'm not standing in front of the danger zone on this track, the real danger zone. Anyway, I mentioned with the WAM device and the wireless controller what you can do with it, and that is you can bring some of the digital experience to the analog world. And what I mean by that is you can actually do digital fuel simulations, and in theory, I haven't done it yet, but in theory we can do weather simulations, we can do tire wear, we can do anything that you can do with dynamic throttle control on a digital system, you can do through the WAM and a Scorpius Wireless dongle in the analog world. And I was hoping that by the time I had this video ready and was going to do this video, and I've died again, so I'm just going to let it stop. I was hoping by the time this video was ready that I would have that all implemented in Race Coordinator itself. That's going to require code changes. They're minor, but it's going to require them, and I haven't had the time to do it. So once I do it for my track, or if there's demand for it from somebody, I will work with them to do it. But I do plan on putting in digital racing support in this analog Race Coordinator RMS. So basically you'll get digital fuel, meaning instead of every time you trigger a lap you use fuel like you see here, which is what happened when you saw here, and maybe you can't see it, I don't know. Instead, as you pull the throttle, no matter whether the back wheels, whether you're driving or not, if the back wheels are up or not, the Race Coordinator software will detect the throttle level and use fuel accordingly. Similarly, you can do things like, in theory again, I think we're going to be able to do things like, hey, if the car's got a full tank of fuel, it should race a little slower or accelerate a little slower because it's heavier. So you can start doing simulations that you can do in the digital world on an analog track through the Race Coordinator software. And I'm hoping to get there at some point. I certainly want to get there with my track and do that kind of racing on my analog track just for the experience and for the fun of it, because I've never really done 132 scale digital racing in earnest. So I'd love to see that happen on an analog track, and I'm pretty committed. It should be fairly simple to do, and it will all be done through the Scorpius Wireless sort of system and using their hardware and whatnot, only in the analog software. So it'll be really cool. So again, to recap, this video was a wireless communication between the track interface, which is actually a Viasue track interface sitting under my table. It is wirelessly communicating to my laptop, which is on the floor beneath my TV. You can't see it, but it's down there. And so that's all the communication, all the laps you see, all the segment times, all the fuel usage, all that is triggered through wireless communication from the track to the laptop running the RMS. And then I was actually controlling the car through this handy dandy controller and a WAM device. Thank you, Scorpius Wireless. And so those two aspects were wireless and running awesome. Again, if you look under my track, just to be clear, this isn't a completely wireless setup. There are a million wires under my table for the 9 track sensors I have, the call buttons, running track power to my rails, the LED start tree's got wires running to it, all going to the control unit. But that stuff can all be cut to fit the lengths you need. It can be done cleanly. Mine's not, but it can be done cleanly under the table, secured to the table. Those kinds of things, and it's all under the table, so nobody will step on it, nobody will kick it, nobody will do anything like that, versus if you had to run a wire, say, from your track interface to your laptop to a TV, you might have a wire running onto the floor, you might have one dangling over the ceiling. So this is quite a lot of freedom, I think, and it's awesome because the controller, that interface is awesome, and the controller is awesome simply because now the controller lets drivers be anywhere they want. They can go reslot their own cars without stopping. If they have a better vantage point from one end to the other, they can go over there. Obviously, the call buttons don't move with them unless you make those wireless or you run really long cables for those or something. But everything else is pretty cool, and it's pretty flexible, and it's really neat. And I'm rambling, so I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you very much. Have a great one.